Here, Mr. Mercado, Mr. Bowman, Mr. Dawson, Mr. Carderas, Mr. Selmont, Mr. Tedisco, Ms. Blake, Ms. Downs,
Here.
Mr. Hilsinger. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will Commissioner and Public please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first order of business is continuation of the zone map change petition for Strathmore Holdings and re-subdivision and special permit for Strathmore. Can we hear the call for all three of those, please?
Absolutely. The zone map change petition of Strathmore Holdings LLC, care of Bernard Pellegrino Esquire, the Pellegrino Law Firm, 475 Whitney Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, 06511, to change from present R40 zone to affordable housing to construct a 56-unit affordable housing unit development pursuant to Section 44A of the zoning regulations. Property located at 6469 7480-0 Mitchell Avenue. East Mitchell Avenue, Cheshire, Connecticut, is generally shown on Assessor's Map number 57 and 58. Lots numbers 261, 269, 270, 271, and 2. Property description available for review in the planning office and filed in the town clerk's office. Special permit application of Strathmore Holdings LLC, care of Bernard Pellegrino Esquire, the Pellegrino Law Firm, 475 Whitney Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, 06511, for a proposed development of a 56-unit affordable housing development properly located at 6469 7480-0 East Mitchell Avenue, Cheshire, Connecticut, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 57 and 58. Lots numbers 261, 269, 270, 271, and 2 in an existing R40 zone, proposed affordable housing district zone. Lastly, the re-subdivision application of Strathmore Holdings LLC, care of Bernard Pellegrino Esquire, the Pellegrino Law Firm, 475 Whitney Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, 06511, for a one-lot re-subdivision modification. Property located on East Mitchell Avenue, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 57 and 58. Lots numbers 261, 269, 270, 271, and 2 in an existing R40 zone, proposed AHD zone.
Thank you. And representing the applicant tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Bernard Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm. I represent the applicant. It's good to be back. As you recall, we presented the application to you last week. As you recall, we're proposing a multi-unit residential development on East Mitchell Ave. The project proposes 56 units. 42 of those units are market rate units pursuant to your regulation in section 44A. 25% or 14 of those units are proposed as affordable units at 80% of the average median income. There may have been some misconception about the economics of this project last month, because I heard it referred to on a number of occasions as a low-income housing project, and it's far from that. Project market rate units would somewhere in the range of $2,300 per month, 42 of those, and the affordable units, in accordance with your regulations, would be in the range of 1,500 units per month. So it's really a moderate rate restriction on those units. I think those units would be available to school teachers in town, members of your law enforcement, firemen, young professionals. So we're happy to bring that application forward in accordance with the provisions of your regulations. At last month's hearing, there were some technical questions raised, and you'll hear from Ryan McAvoy from SLR and Neil Olinsky, also from SLR, who will present some of the traffic findings in the report that we've already submitted at the request of the commission to look at a couple of issues that were discussed last month. So I'll turn it over to them in a minute. I would note that we investigated the alleged claim that there were some improperly buried bodies on the back of this site. in the home of one of the former property owners, Mr. Fisk was able to retrieve from the town hall, from the town clerk, the death certificates for both of those individuals clearly indicated that they were buried appropriately and legally in cemeteries in Hampden and Cheshire, I believe. So I think we've provided that information to Mr. Glidden. I think that takes that issue off the table. And with that, unless you have any questions for me, I turn it over to Mr. McAvoy.
Anyone questions for Mr. Pellegrino? Maybe at some point, but we'll
Okay,
we'll
yep,
listen to Ryan.
thank you.
Before I start, I'm going to set up my boards. I don't know if any members of the public are here to review this particular application or not, but I typically set up over here to my left. If you can't see, just let me know and we'll find an appropriate spot for everyone to review our plan. Good evening. For the record, my name is Ryan McAvoy. I'm a licensed professional engineer with SLR. And subsequent to the last meeting, there were a few revisions to the plans that we made based on comments received from staff and comments received from the commission, namely, and also comments received from the public. And a couple of those are related to the ability for a school bus to get down to this location. As you're aware, the town school bus system doesn't typically go down cul-de-sacs, in part because cul-de-sacs, town standard cul-de-sacs rather, are rather limiting for the school bus to make the turning radius. So we looked at the standard school bus template turning on the standard town cul-de-sac and found that it generally confirmed the hesitancy that the bus company may have for going down these roads because of the ability to turn around a standard 80-foot diameter cul-de-sac. We decided that we took the opportunity to widen our proposed cul-de-sac by 5 feet, the radius, and that provides adequate space for a school bus to get down, make the full turn around the cul-de-sac fairly easily. And we hope that this would alleviate some concerns that the bus company may have should that need arise to bring a school bus down to this site. We've also extended some of the internal sidewalks within the property out to the cul-de-sac so that if there is any school-age children who would get the bus at the cul-de-sac, that they'd have the ability just to walk right up to it. We've also taken into consideration some of the comments from a budding property owner with respect to landscaping and landscape buffering. You may recall that one of the neighbors to the north and west, or up on this sheet, expressed some concern about privacy that they've enjoyed for a number of years because of the lack of development down on this end of East Mitchell. And our nearest unit, located here, had some proposed landscaping as part of the original plan, but we've enhanced that significantly with a number of Norway spruce, Colorado spruce trees, and green giant arborvitaes along the entirety of the limit of clearing that we're proposing. And we hope that this provides additional screening and buffering from that neighbor. As we mentioned at the last meeting, this building is 2 stories as it faces the neighboring property, as opposed to 3 stories to the east or on the opposite side of the building. So given that it's only 2 stories tall, it's actually in a bit of an excavation, and we're providing a robust landscape screening plan along that property that it would satisfy any long-term concerns about the visual impact of the development to this particular property.
How high are the trees going to be?
At planting time,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta put 4 feet.
about 6 to 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet high at planting.
About.
Yeah.
Just give us some exact.
Oh, the range that we have is a 6 to 8 foot planting height, so they'd be a minimum of 6.
6 feet.
Yeah.
Takes a long time to grow. How long they take you? That feeding them for years, you know?
What do you, microphone?
How long? Like, do they grow a foot every 5 years or?
I can't say exactly. They do take a little bit of time to grow, but again, we're only looking at a 2-story side of this building facing that property, not dissimilar to a typical residential building. And over time, that will fill in very densely
perhaps 5 to 10 years. But
Yeah, but
You know.
the people are living there now that are concerned, right?
well, their house, it's hard to see on this particular plan. Let me flip to our existing conditions plan. It might be a little bit clearer.
Want to make both people happy here, you know, the applicant and the residents.
So I can assure you, Woody, that the size plantings that we're proposing are very on the higher side compared to what you can get at a typical nursery.
I
So-
know, but I don't disagree with it, and I don't mean to be argumentative, but, you know, give or take, maybe about, I mean, you know, I can vote better if I know that you've heard testimony that people are concerned about their views and everything. So you'll give them a better idea than
Yeah.
me. So when I go to vote, I'll say, well,
Yeah.
he's met his obligations, you know.
So the house right now, the neighboring house it would be some roughly 100 feet from the location of our proposed building.
Yeah,
And-
but you're going 2 stories, right? But
And we're going 2
Yeah.
stories tall, and we're a bit of an excavation where the building's located. So the overall appearance from the building, from the vantage point of this property, would not be dissimilar at all, I would say, to a typical 2-story residential house. But the plantings we propose are, I would say, a very robust screening plan. And we are choosing a selection of species that will provide year-round screening and at heights that are consistent with the upper limits of what can be available at a typical nursery. So we feel that this will certainly enhance the screening long-term and any visual impact between the properties. It certainly is in addition and greater than what your regulations would call for under normal circumstances, but we are trying to accommodate the concerns of the neighbor.
all right, but there'll be a minimum then of what height? I mean, you
6
can
feet.
get them if you want to pay for them. You can get them any height. I mean,
There'd be a minimum of 6, but they'd be in the range of 6 to 8. That's just the typical,
okay.
when you purchase a tree from a nursery, that's the typical range you get. Some are 7.
Well, if
some
you
are
pay
8, but-
more, you can get whatever you want. It's America. You know, but I just, like I say, I just need to know because there's a concern.
Yeah.
And my job is the people that have already invested there, I have to think about them and also about your applicant. You know,
Okay.
so I would like you to commit, in my opinion, to it at least 8 feet, you know. So if you commit to it, then if they're not there, then we can do something about it.
We can commit to that.
If you
yes.
say about,
Well, yeah, when I say about, and that,
They're
They're-
typically sold when they sell the tree, they'll do a 6 to 8 foot, they'll do an 8 to 10 foot. So
Yeah.
that's,
yeah, but I'd like to know, you know, because
are you going to do a 6 to 8 or are you going to do an 8 to 10? I mean, basically, I
Right.
guess what he's asking.
yeah, we have it set at the 6 to 8 foot range. We can certainly ensure that the trees along that are in the 8 foot range.
okay,
When they're
so
planted.
that's it, 8 feet, we agree, right? Okay, thank you.
Lastly, it's really, I'm not going to flip to our utility page, but we did have some discussions with the fire marshal's office. You may recall that we received an email right before the last meeting, and then it got codified in a more formal letter. They had suggested that they wanted a water main connection to Cheshire Hillside Village. We did review that with the fire marshal's office and the regional water authority, and it's not physically possible to connect at this time to the water main on Cheshire Hillside Village because it is all a private water main, all individually metered. So if we were to connect in physically, we'd be pulling water from their metered flow. So the compromise that Mr. Kozlowski and we agreed to was to extend the water line right up to the edge of the property, have a fire hydrant at that location, and then at a future time, if the town takes over the water line in Cheshire Hillside Village, then there might be an ability to connect in. But at this time, he was agreeable to that extension of the water main just to this point by the emergency access.
I have another question for you. Excuse me. If you're digging along there, it's gonna be dug up anyway. Have you considered sidewalks for safety there?
On the emergency access?
No, not on emergency access. Where you're gonna dig in the area by the road there.
Oh, we're not going to be replacing the water main in the road itself.
No,
What-
and I know you're not going to main road, but to me, I call that, excuse me, I call that a road, you know? Maybe it's,
Along the parking lot here, or,
yeah,
well, we do have sidewalks along the edge of the parking lot, but our water main's gonna be extending down the middle of the parking lot drive
but
aisle.
that's just a small area there, right? A
In here?
sidewalk?
Yeah, our sidewalk is along the edge of the parking between the building and the parking lot.
Okay.
EJ, I have a question.
Um,
Mr. Solomon, so I'll let him get through his, no, go ahead.
Yeah,
That's fine. It was along the same lines as the water main, because the fire marshal says it replaces 6-inch to an 8-inch.
I believe his comment was that the 6-inch, if found inadequate, would have to be replaced with an 8-inch. But we believe that based on historical water flow data in the area, that it would be proven adequate. And I believe my conversation with Mr. Kozlowski is that he thought that that could be handled sort of administratively on a condition of approval level. So we're going to get an updated water level test, and if it confirms what we've seen in the area for the last 20 years, then we should be fine with the 6-inch in East Mitchell Avenue as it is today.
I got a question again. So you're gonna say if you got a problem, then you'll take care of it. So what do? Dig it up again to take care of it?
No. So we've demonstrated as part of what we submitted as part of the application, flow data of the existing.
Okay, you're gonna, okay.
Yeah, so all he's suggesting is that a newer flow test, if it has to be replaced, it has to be replaced, but I don't believe it will
And,
have to
and
be.
if there is any new water mains that have to come in, they have to be 8-inch.
If
That's what it
needed, yeah.
states in number 6, his comment.
So that's something that, we can certainly commit to if the water test proves something vastly different than what
What you
we've
think
already
so.
seen up to date. And one more item that we prepared is we did do some survey work to establish the width of the right-of-way out to South Main Street, or sorry, Highland Avenue here, along East Mitchell Avenue. And while it is about 50 feet at the frontage of our property along East Mitchell, it does slightly narrow down to about 46 and a half feet at the actual intersection with Route 10. And we did establish the width of the road at the intersection, the width of the paved road rather, and that's about 26 and a half feet wide where the stop bar and stop sign is today. So that was something that Commissioner Bowman asked us to verify at the last meeting, and we provided that in the revised updated documents.
Can I go back to the school bus thing for a real quick question for you?
Sure.
You stated that sometimes school buses do not go down cul-de-sacs.
It's generally not the policy of the school, the bus company to go down cul-de-sacs. They do under certain circumstances.
Have you approached the school bus company? I mean, you got a nice turnaround area. I assume that it would work for both the fire trucks and the bus, but
Yeah,
do you know if
that's
the
something
school bus would
that's,
actually come down that area?
It's something that's out of our control for them to commit to. They have done it in other cases. Their general initial reaction is to not go down them. They will if the Board of Ed requests it, but it's not something that we can compel them to do. We provided the ability for them to safely get down to the end of the road, turn around adequately with greater ease than they would at a standard town cul-de-sac. So we're building something larger than would otherwise be required in a subdivision, for example.
And another question I had, and for you, I think I did ask Mike or Mr. Glidden. Dodd and Highland School are pretty close to this area. Do you know if that would be an area for walkers?
I don't, but I can say that just in my own experience driving up and down Route 10, that the apartment complex to the north, which actually abuts this property, their driveway is even closer to Highland School than our location. They do have kids, very few, but they do have a couple of kids that wait and get the school bus at that location. So I expect that kids might get picked up from this development by the bus. But I'm not positive what the policy would be there.
Okay, because there's no sidewalks on 10 in that area. There's no crosswalk there. Do we look into that about the
Yeah, I didn't get an answer from the Board of Education on that for this particular location, but you're correct. The sidewalks on this portion of Route 10 are actually on the western side, so the opposite side of the road of East Mitchell. And there's not a crosswalk in the immediate area of the intersection. There's crosswalks further to the south and to the north of this property, but not like,
And there's nothing on 10 on that side to get anywhere.
no,
So
no, it would be really, if there was a sidewalk here, you'd have a sidewalk basically from the cul-de-sac out to Route 10, and that's the end of it. Because you can't connect into anything on this side of Route 10.
So do we know if this is a walking location? I'm sure it's close enough to be a walking location to Highland and Dodd.
It
I'm
appears to be close enough, but I don't have confirmation from the Board of Ed to say, yes, those individuals will be considered walkers, or, their parents are responsible for transportation.
and you wouldn't consider if they were to be walking to those two schools, you still would not consider any improvements or a sidewalk like Mr. Dawson said?
Our reaction to installing sidewalks here is that it's typically, you're asking to install hundreds of feet of sidewalk along people's private property frontages that they'd be responsible for maintaining.
Private property? It's
No,
doesn't the town own?
it'd be along their frontage.
But it's
that
the town-owned property.
Yes, but the property owners adjacent to it would be responsible for the maintenance. So what we've done here, what we're attempting to do is provide for the opportunity for the school bus to make it down to the cul-de-sac, to turn around with greater ease, like I said before, than they would anywhere else in town. And that's
That's if there's no walkers that walk from Dodd and Highland School.
Again, the neighboring property to the north, which is an apartment complex, does have kids get picked up by a school bus. So I would expect that that condition would exist here as well. Again, considering that there's no sidewalks along our side of Route 10 going up to Highland School. So I would very much expect that they would be picked up by buses.
Mr. Todd.
Couple things. So as far as the Board of Ed goes, I did look that up, and this location is within the walking distance for both, but there's a form that the parents would need to fill out online for a bus accommodation. I had to do that for my daughter because we were close to Highland, but she still took the bus, and based on availability, they would make that call. So, for the Board of Ed standpoint, from their regulations and what they go by, that's what that would be. I know that Mr. Kurtz was talking about the school buses. I'm a little disappointed that nobody called the Board of Ed or the Luther at the transportation office to even ask the question.
Oh, no, I discussed it with them.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said you didn't. Sorry.
No, their policy is that they don't go down cul-de-sacs unless the Board of Ed specifically authorizes them to do so. So if it's a Board of Ed question, that they will go down cul-de-sacs if they are required to do so. But their initial reaction on all cul-de-sacs across town is that they do not by policy go down them. So what we're doing is we're providing for an enhancement to possibly accommodate that if it's needed.
Gotcha. And I asked that question too for another reason, because I did look at the school bus route with some cul-de-sacs that I know of in town. None of them have a bus stop or the bus that goes down the street. They all stop at the end of the street. So, I'm hoping that we're going to hear more about the traffic with the updated traffic study, because, you heard it last time you were here. There's no sidewalks on there. If kids that live there have to walk up, it's going to be an issue. So I'm hoping you're going to talk about that. Also, since you gave us the drawings and everything with the school buses and the new turning radius, I know that Chief Drife sent a nice long letter with some of the issues that he had with the road there and the safety and for the kids. I would hope that you contact him also and say one of his concerns was the cars turning left. The wait time and the timing for the lights and everything. And to get to the high school, a bus would have to make that left-hand turn. For a car, it's tough. I know we're going to talk about that, but I'll throw it out there now. I did go out. I went on the street 3 or 4 times. I went yesterday, 7:30 in the morning. I saw your updated studies. It took me 4 minutes to turn left. It wasn't the 40 seconds or whatever that was in there. Maybe it was an anomaly, but by chance, I went out there and saw that. So, when we talk about the traffic study, we'd like to delve into that a little further. But I would expect, the chief to weigh in on that, since he had concerns about cars, let alone school buses making that left-hand turn.
I've not seen that memo from the police chief. I don't believe we've seen it.
It's an email that was forwarded. It's on a memo. Very well. Dated
January 19th. He also, Mr. Glidden, he had a question too about, he wanted to ask about the, well, they haven't done their traffic report. They will wait till the, I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Downs.
So I just have a question. Are you putting sidewalks in on East Mitchell to go up?
We're not proposing that at this time, no.
If that was something that the commission asked you to do in order to pass something like that, would you consider doing that?
I would have to review that with the applicant before I commit to anything like that.
Just from, okay, I'm just saying, I would think that would be pretty important.
Understood. That's something we can certainly discuss. Shall I turn it over to the traffic?
Yeah, I think, you get anyone else have questions for Mr. McElroy? Yeah, we'll do the traffic.
Good evening, everybody. Neil Olinsky with SLR, Traffic Transportation Planner. I'm actually filling in today for Dave Sullivan, who had another hearing, unfortunately couldn't make it. I'm sure he went through our traffic study, so I'm not going to rehash every little detail. But at the end of the day, this development is not going to have a whole lot of new traffic. Essential finding from the traffic study that we did is that it's not expected to have an impact to things like levels of service. 56 units sounds like a lot, but not everybody leaves at the same exact time. Not everybody even leaves during the same peak hour, for example. I think based on the statistics that are published by, for example, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, during a typical peak hour, we're looking at 15 cars exiting in the morning, 5 cars entering. In the afternoon, it's roughly similar but reversed. So I understand there were comments at the last hearing. We did a follow-up study, which was a delay study. I didn't work on the specifics, but I'm going to go over that. One of our engineers went out and did observations on January 19th, a Wednesday, during the morning peak hour from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and in the afternoon from 4:15 to 5:15. And they counted every car that was at the westbound approach of East Mitchell at Route 10. And they counted and quantified the delay for every vehicle. What it came out to be is it averaged out to 15 to 19 seconds to get out. Obviously, that's an average. There were some cars that were
Everybody will have a chance to speak.
upwards of 49, 50 seconds. Other cars, they pulled up to the stop sign and they got out within 2 to 4 to 6 seconds. They just happened to come up and find a gap on Route 10.
Again, everyone will have a chance to speak. Let the gentleman speak.
That's the study that we did. Try to keep it simple. Again, it's not a whole lot of traffic. It comes down to Route 10 being a very busy road. This is the type of condition we see across the state when you have an unsignalized approach, be it a side street or a driveway, to a busy arterial, in this case, Route 10, busy state road. I did take a look at the traffic volumes relative to what they call signal warrants. This is basically thresholds put out by the Federal Highway Administration and their manual and uniform traffic control devices. And the peak hour volumes that we're expecting in the future with this new development in place doesn't even trigger the peak hour warrant, which is the baseline warrant for a signal. So a signal would very unlikely be considered by the state. This is a state road, obviously. So again, I hate to say it, but Route 10 has a lot of traffic. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, this development is not expected to add a whole lot of new traffic, and we're not expecting it to have any perceptible impacts. You have delays out there now. We're talking, 15 to 19 seconds now. In the future, with other developments and growth in the mix, a bit more delay. But that's going to be the case with or without this development. This development is not going to have enough traffic to trigger an impact. That's traffic in a nutshell, at least our reports, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions from the board.
Mr. Vitale.
So again, I told you I went over there, 4 minutes to get out. It's not 15, 45, 90 seconds, 4 minutes to get out, 7:30 in the morning. So it's
Mhm.
I know you only went for a certain hour, but it does happen.
It happens, sure.
You know,
Mhm.
folks that are in the audience and other people that were here last time,
They live it, yes. Mhm.
they do live it and they experience it. So, I know the statistics and everything, but it just doesn't match. And also, we heard that this is going to be marketed, to teachers, police, young families, 56 units, 2 cars apiece. And you're thinking that during that peak time, only 15 people are going to drive their car out of there, when it's being marketed to younger families that would drive left to the high school, probably right to go to Dodd, right to go to Highland.
That's what the industry statistics would indicate. This could be a very flattened peak, for example, like from 7 to 8. Before the 8 to 9 peak hour, you might have just under that 15 cars exiting. Again, from 8 to 9, you're going to have a slight peak, for example, and after 9 o'clock, say between 9 and 9:30, or from 9 to 10, you might have a notable amount of traffic. But you look across the nation in the statistics, not everybody leaves during the same hour.
Okay,
That's just what the stats show.
But again, if it's being marketed to families, it's not being marketed to 55 and older who may leave
Mhm.
later, may not go out during the peak times for schools. If it's being marketed for younger families to start out with, I don't believe the statistics. I'm sorry. It's 15 cars just does not make sense out of 112, 2 spots per unit, but 112 possible cars.
Like I said, not everybody leaves during the same hour. The world is ever evolving. You have people working from home. People have different schedules. That's just what we expect.
Again, I don't know if you saw the email that we were referring to before, but
I have not.
Chief Drive also had a concern about the 16. Is that his question that
Yeah,
we were trying to get? No.
the chief wanted clarification on the determination of 16 trips. Like what you're referring to industry stats that you're using. He just wanted to know what's your data set that you're basing that 16 trips off of?
Mhm. Based off of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, they put out a manual. They call it a manual, but really it's a big book of statistics that they compile for different land uses. This one is a multifamily type of development land use. I don't have the book in front of me, so I don't know how robust the statistics were, but it's published by the ITE in their trip generation manual. It's widely accepted by CONDOT in many municipalities across the state, the region. It's really the industry standard for traffic engineering in terms of estimating trips. Now, obviously, nobody has a crystal ball, but that's really the best stuff we can go by. That's national data.
I got Mr. Selma first. Let me get into Mr. Selma.
The study you guys did on a Wednesday, that was, how many units are on that street right now? Anybody know? There's what, 4 or 5 houses and then Hillside?
There's almost 200 units on Hillside Village and the condos and the elderly housing.
And the Hillside Village has a second exit entrance as well, I think. No?
I don't believe so.
So,
It's emergency. Yeah.
okay, so well, just for what I'm looking at here, 17 cars went through in an hour, and 56 more units will only generate another 16 cars.
During 1 hour, obviously during the rest of the day, the hours prior and after the peak hour, there's going to be some traffic as well from this development.
Right, but the 16 cars generated is the per the Institute of Traffic. Is that for the whole day, for peak hour?
That's for peak hour.
Right, so you're essentially doubling the number of cars coming out of that intersection.
That's just under double, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I'd like to say though, if I may, it's not a linear type of traffic delays isn't necessarily a linear type of thing. If there's 15 seconds with 20 cars exiting now, you add another 15 to 20 cars, it's not going to be double the delay. It's more nonlinear, if that makes sense.
No, I get that.
In terms of delay for traffic.
I went down that road and it's the traffic delays coming out of East Mitchell is one thing. There's certainly a potential for a nuisance. And then actually what Chief Drife mentions too is people turning into East Mitchell Avenue, creating a backup on Route 10 and causing havoc there. I know you guys, sounds like you didn't really get the email from Chief Drife, but
Yeah, I haven't read.
he's got some very interesting points that he made.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't, again, I didn't work on the nuts and bolts of the study, and I don't know if we addressed it in the study, but I did take a look at the width of Route 10, and from the double yellow center line, there's a bit of a painted median there to the say the southbound curb line. It's roughly 19 to 20 feet. That includes the shoulder and the regular travel lane. So in essence, 20 feet is what the state would require, 19 to 20 feet for bypass. So for example, if someone is trying to waiting for a moment to take a left southbound into East Mitchell, another southbound through vehicle would be able to get by. So in essence,
They're assuming that they would pass on the right. There's no turning lane there.
There's no turning lane there.
And people would have enough room to go around on the right.
Right, and not clog up traffic southbound.
Right, depending upon the vehicle and everything else. And
Right, there's some big
I
vehicles.
thought passing on the right was technically illegal too, but
You'd think so, but the state of CONDOT, they allow it throughout the state.
sure.
As long as you're not traveling in the shoulder for hundreds and hundreds of feet, if you're just quickly going around what they call bypass, it's generally accepted.
And then did I hear Ryan correctly that the road width near the proposed complex is 46 feet and it narrows down to 26 feet at the intersection?
Let me clarify that. So I was referring to the width of the right of way. So the width of the property, the town property itself, from edge of right of way to edge of right of way is 46 feet approximately at the intersection with Route 10. The paved portion of the road, the travel way, is 26 feet wide.
That's and that's from my experience driving down there. That road seemed like 26 feet all the way down, or very narrow at very least.
It actually narrows down as you get further into the road, but
Right.
I'm talking about at the intersection itself with Route 10, it's 26 feet wide, based on our surveyed measurements.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Dawson.
Yeah, Mike, on these traffic engineers, I know you've been around a long time, different towns and so forth, so I rely on you rather than ask for an independent traffic study because we have the right to ask that.
Correct.
So, from your experience, that Route 10 is a nightmare. I live on Route 10. It's a nightmare. I got two ways out. And I tried to choose between one and the other. It's just tough getting out of there. It always has been and probably always will be, So I guess if what he's saying is not, in so many words, the way I read it, is not a major problem. So if he feels that way, and personally, I'm not a traffic engineer, so believe me, I have no credentials, so I'm not disbelieving you. But it seems to me that it's hard to believe. So just asking the question, not asking at this point, just a question to get an answer, we could ask for an independent with no interest traffic engineer to check it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
I saw you reading the email. Did you get a chance to read it? Do you have any other comments on the chiefs?
No, I mean, I'm kind of skimming it. I haven't read it thoroughly.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable really diving into it until I really, read it through. Sorry.
Well, that would be something. I mean, I know you're an expert and I value your opinion, but obviously he's an expert in that field also. So I value his opinion. So I would like to have some kind of answer on his questions.
So I think I did address the bypass or the southbound left turn question. The number of peak hour trips. Number 3.
We could go to the public
Yeah,
first, and then
maybe we
you
can come
can
back to
read
this.
that, and then maybe give us another explanation later, or at another date, or we'll see what,
Sure.
see what happens. Assuming you're done with, you might have more of a presentation.
I think we are done. I just wanted to, I don't know if clarify, but Commissioner mentioned that I said marketing to young families. I'm not sure I exactly said that. I think what I said is the affordable units at $1,500 would be units that would be marketed to fire and emergency service people, young professionals, et cetera. I'm not sure I said young families. There may be young families. They're 2-bedroom units, so, they're limited in size. You don't generally expect a family of 5 to be living in a 2-bedroom unit. You certainly could have a young couple with a child in that bedroom, or 2 ultimately. So I'm not saying no children, but at 2-bedroom, I would think that the number of school-age children living in this complex would be limited. Typically, in a multi-unit 2-bedroom apartment, the statistics are approximately 30 per 100. So, it's maybe 10 to 15, and they're not all going to the same school. So that's generally the statistical numbers. Thank you.
Okay. Public, anyone from the public wishing to come up, ask questions and speak about this? Sure. We just need you to come up to the microphone. I need your name and address for the record, and then you may ask your question.
Can I drop my mask?
Yeah, when you get there, yes, I believe
Okay.
that's the protocol.
My name is Richard Sullo. I live at 353 East Mitchell Avenue. I live there. Sullo. My wife and I have lived there for almost 15 years. I respect these gentlemen's professionalism. I happen to be a retired professional engineer myself, so I'm not here to beat on them. But they don't live there, okay? When you come out of Route 10, from my observations, and my wife and I are in and out almost every day, multiple times a day sometimes, probably 75% of the people go left. They go south, because most of the services that the seniors where I live need are south of our complex. Shopping centers, drugstores, doctors, medical, the new Hartford Health building, things like that. So most people go left. Trying to go left at 8 or 8:30 in the morning is unbelievable. It's backed up right to Hinman Street, bumper to bumper, all the way down to Waterbury Road. There are times, and we generally don't go out that time of day, but if we have to, there have been times that we have actually taken a right, gone around Hinman Street, doubled down Maple Avenue, and came into Route 10 at the traffic light on Route 70, just because we couldn't get across the traffic. I would also ask in your considerations that you realize that in that little stretch of about 3/4 of a mile between Route 70 and Hinman Street, we had about an 11-unit apartment building built next to Liberty Bank, which I think was finished about 6 months ago. And we're currently building a commercial building, which I understand is a bank, on the other side of Liberty Bank, which I have to assume, I haven't seen the site plan, but I assume there's a driveway in and out of there. Obviously, they have to have access. So that's going to put more traffic in that little 3/4 mile stretch on top of what's there now. I would ask anybody who's been here to try to walk the hill from Route 10 down to the bottom. Nobody's going to send their kids, if they have a kid, up the hill to meet the bus. People are going to drive up the hill. They're going to wait up by Route 10 with their children until the bus comes. And that's just going to give you even more traffic problems, because there's going to be people coming in and out of our complex, and they're going to have cars backed up. I just don't see any way how the traffic in a complex, 56 units, if there's only a half a dozen kids, those kids aren't, I don't even think you can walk that hill. I couldn't, and I'm old, but they're young. But if you had a 8-year-old kid, you wouldn't send them up that hill. And my last comment is, I don't even know how a school bus could get up that hill if it's slippery. It is steep. It's not like in our complex, we have the same vertical height, but we have lower grades because we have multiple roads that run horizontally. So there's no steep grades. That's very steep, and I don't see how you could even get a fire truck up that if it was slippery, let alone a school bus every day. Thank you. If you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to try to answer them. If not, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Sewell. Any questions? No. Sure, just come right up.
I'm the other half of the Sullos. Ruth Sullo, 353 East Mitchell. I have a couple points. The steep gradient is probably the steepest hill in Cheshire. I've walked steep hills because I'm a walker and I like to walk hills. There's no steeper one. And if you can imagine going up that in a car, you're going to have to hold your accelerator down the entire length of it, causing all kinds of exhaust. It's a very, very steep hill. And kids are not going to be walking that, as my husband said. When you get to the end of that hill, to go to Stop and Shop, people like to cross right there. Those of us at Hillside Village, we have learned how dangerous it is there. We don't cross there. We make ourselves walk to where you have a crossing line. But you're going to have 56 units of people. I don't know how you're going to train them to take themselves all the way down to the cross lights. There have been accidents there. If you have kids going there, it's a death trap right there. And ambulances and fire trucks. With that traffic, it would be an awful situation. And lastly, my last point, the 4 minutes to make a left turn and so forth. What if you're the 10th car in line? You're going to sit there for half an hour waiting to get out? And with 56 units, 1.5 cars each, that's a lot more cars. It will be a nightmare. It'll be a mess. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Sure, come on up. We could actually, if there's a bunch of you that want to speak, we could form a line.
Everybody doing? I was here, I spoke last time, Fran Shipwright, 54 East Mitchell. SCHIPRITT. Yeah, I did want to apologize for one thing. I did say, that there was people buried down there. And since then, I did speak with a friend of mine who was a resident of that property. From when I was a young man, I was told that to watch out for the remains. As the family grew older, I would cut the lawn, go back there for them, and they would say, stay clear of this area. The remains of our family is there. As a young guy, all these years, I just found this out. I assumed it was the great-grandparents there that lived there. Come to find out, upon speaking with them, it's actually 5 to 6 ashes, remains of family members. Also, I stated that they were African-American, thinking, they're, and he corrected me on this, not only African-American, but also Native American. So I just wanted to clear that right up front. And I do apologize if I wasn't trying to come across as trying something to throw in the mix. That's just what I knew was there. Okay. Another question I did have is anybody, I know not everybody's here tonight, but is anybody on the board, do they have a vested interest in this build? Anything with this construction that's going on?
With the actual, with the project?
The project itself. Yeah.
I think we've been trained and no one here would
just
sit for something if they
right,
were
yeah, it was
involved in it.
just a question. I know some members did excuse themselves for other reasons.
Mr. Strollo was here. He did recuse himself. So
okay, so also this is a state road, right? So with this build, shouldn't there be a state-run impact report with where they actually put the strips down and they get real hardcore evidence of the cars that are going up and down the street traffic-wise? Isn't that something that would be done of something with this impact? you
I
know?
believe in your traffic study that was done, or something to the effect of count the cars.
Strips were put down. I've never seen them. I've been driving over it for, I don't know how long. When,
There was people out there counting cars through. The state does, DOT.
We got it. I don't think Meryl can pick that up. So just keep that question for you now and then write it down and
Okay. But that's
we'll get an
something
answer.
that-
I'll get an answer for you from them.
okay.
You have the
Um,
mic now, so I can't let
No,
them
that's
speak.
fine. Okay, so I jotted down a few other things. All right, so we were saying, would, our property alone, okay? They were saying the structure is gonna be 25 feet from our property, correct? I know you mentioned something 100 feet, or before, last time I was here, it was 25 feet. The rear of the structure was gonna be next to the property. So with 25 feet away, are they gonna have walkways? They gotta have some sort of walkways to the back of this structure, I would assume, where people would have to get out in case of an emergency or anything like that, right? Now, how far is that structure going to be encroaching on to the property? Also, are there balconies? Our property, the way it's set up, we have our garden, we've got our chicken coop, we've got our dog kennels. We raised prize hounds for years. I don't know how they're going to feel about that when my hounds start barking a little bit. This is 50 years we've been doing this, and all of a sudden, it's going to be an issue. Archery. We shot archery. We had to change it because directly looking at our house, it was a 100-foot archery lane set up. By practicing from when I was a kid, that allowed me to become an A-class shooter for the state of Connecticut. Okay. Without having that, I wasn't able to do it. So now they built behind us. Every tree behind the house is all dying. And I believe that's from all the salt that's being put down and the runoff from that parking lot. So we lost that. Okay. So not only that's bad enough, now we're talking about taking what's left of our privacy in the back of the yard where we relocated shooting archery. I don't see how that's going to go over well with neighbors. Everybody's very touchy about things. So now we have another structure, right, that they're saying is going to be 40 feet high. Not only is it 20 foot going to be looking directly into our property, but now you have a 40 foot it's on 5 acres. This isn't a big chunk of land for this many people. It's 5 acres, right? I mean, that's what I take it is. It's going to totally be encroaching in our backyard and on our property. And like I said, are there going to be balconies? That's going to be people a clear side view. What if we're out there, we want to sunbathe or whatever. I mean, it's just let's see. Oh, hold on, age is catching up to me here. Okay. Yeah, we're planning on putting I was going to put another pool and replace our existing pool for my grandkids. I don't know if, and for the family, I don't know if I want to do that now, not knowing what's going to happen with people overlooking in our privacy. Not to mention, if we're going to be having teenagers, when everybody's kids, they did a little pool hopping in certain neighborhoods, but everybody's friends. How do I know these kids aren't going to try to jump in the middle of the night to cool off if they got no place to go? So that's another liability, something we're worried about. And again, it's just zero privacy after 50 years of living there. What impact is this going to have on natural sunlight? The natural sunlight to our garden. Where is this structure going to be in comparison? We're putting in another big garden this year with the impact of everything that's going on with food and the economy and not being able to get stuff. I'm growing as much as I can. I'm going to have my chickens. I'm going to have my rabbits, and I'm going to do that. Okay, to help support my family and take care of my family. All right. What is that going to have for our natural sunlight? If they want to put up a border, that our garden is right there. So when they put that border up, that's guaranteed going to take away the best sunlight of the day for that garden. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's move on. So, and there is the Right of Light Act, 1959. It states if a property has ever received natural daylight for 20 years or greater, they're entitled to continue to receive that light. That's just written. That's law. I just wanted to mention that. Our natural view, which was truly a deciding factor for my family when they purchased this land 50 years ago, the quiet nature of it, the view of the back, you know, the woods is very serene and quiet, very quiet. That's what my father loved about it. After being a Vietnam vet, he wanted quiet and peace. You know, I know everybody knows what a lot of vets went through over there, and my father prefers things to be quiet, okay? Not loud noises, not anything of that nature, all right? Now that view is going to be totally impacted, and it's going to destroy the natural view we once had, you know, with a 40-foot structure. That's how it's set up. When we look out to the back, that's what we're going to see, okay? You know, I mean, there's a lot of other factors. Now you got this 40-foot structure, you got this 20-foot structure. What about the glare from windows and cars? You're going to get, I mean, I'm just speaking of things. I've been in the building and construction trades for years myself. You're going to get glare, okay? Windows, cars. What about, you know, the noise pollution? You know, coming from Route 10, it's going to come down the way they're proposing that. You're going to get you're going to get an echo coming right down that street and right back up, reverberating to us. That's fact. That's what's going to happen. Okay. So now noise is going to be ridiculous. Let's see what we got here. Noise pollution.
I mean, if you could wrap it up, you're repeating yourself a lot, and so and we value your.
I know. I'm going to try to wrap
comments,
it up, but I want to point key things to try to help you understand where I'm coming from.
Okay.
They're key things. It's not just gibberish.
Well, the property owner here has rights too, so that's, I mean, as far as the buildings you talked about being too close, I mean, none of them are like that. They're following all the zoning requirements that they
But
have
it's
to.
25 feet, right?
I think Ryan stated 100 feet. Was that from building to building, or building to building was 100 feet?
26 feet.
Okay, whatever it is too, it's in the zoning regulations, so they're not doing something that's
Okay,
not
26
not
feet. Right?
And
This is 36 right here. You want me to go up to where?
no, I understand what 26 feet is. I'm just trying to tell you, it's not. They're not asking for something that's not legally.
I understand
Okay.
that. I understand that. Okay. So you got sound pollution, all right? Echoes from all the structures. You got slamming doors to cars, car alarms, car horns beeping, okay? How about light pollution? You're gonna have added street lights, floodlights, car lights shining.
They'll have to follow all the rules for all that stuff.
I'd like to believe that. Dumpsters, where are the dumpsters going to be located for all these units? Right, we all know Hillside Village had a horrible rodent problem for a while with feral cats and everything else. That's fact. So now that's another thing we're going to have to think. We have garbage as they go out. We're talking dumpsters for 56 units. There's going to be a lot of trash. All right, then you're going to have the waste company coming down. There's laws that are in place for residents for peace and quiet that have resided there for years. The sidewalks that are put up, I mean, if they're coming on our side, now is that our responsibility? That I know he mentioned something about that.
Sidewalks that they're proposing are not on your property.
Right. All the snow that they're going to clear, where do they plan on pushing all this? Because if you ever drove down that street, I know he mentioned 26 feet. As you go down the street, it's 20 feet. It is 20 feet wide. So where are they going to expand it? Because I tell you what, a bus is not turning around. They're going to have to expand that huge. And what side are they going to take it away from? Are they going to do it from our side? Because they mentioned moving the electrical box and the telephone pole. 15 feet past that pole is our property. So I don't know where they're going to take that away from. I know they own the other side of the street, so possibly they could just cut into theirs. The other thing is with Hillside Village, I don't want to say it's so much the residents pulling out. There are throughout the day tons of visiting nurses. Okay, they're always in a rush because they're going from one house to another. My father has been hit. Okay, I've been hit pulling down because our driveway is just after it. Okay, so there's two. Like I said, my father's been hit by somebody pulling out, and I've been hit by somebody pulling out. And my neighbor that was down there, they were hit from somebody pulling out. I'm not saying it's a resident. I'm not putting blame on that, but there was that accident. Those three accidents just with us. I can't see that really changing. Every time I come down the street, I have to flash or make sure I let them know that I'm pulling out because that stop sign, it really just doesn't, it doesn't mean too much. With the kids that are going to be coming in here, where are they going to play? Where are these kids going to go? Are they going to stay in that lot where everybody's driving their cars around and people are coming up and down? Or are they going to be drawn to what's behind them over in the academy? I don't think, and that's not that far behind them. I'm not sure if the academy is ready to have more people going on there. See, now there's a pond. God forbid some kid goes in there, young child, and drowns, right? And these are things, I'm just thinking what teenagers would do. Because I know what I did when I lived there growing up, okay? And, but it was just myself and a few friends. You're having more kids down there. I just, there's just so much going on. There's definitely, it's going to be inadequate parking. A bus going up and down that street is ridiculous. I went to Highland School, I went to Dodd, and I can tell you right now, they do not allow bussers where I was. We are not on the bus route. So, what about people with public transportation? There's no bus route right there. There's no they would have to walk up that street to get to the bus route, and that's all the way in the center of town, okay? Or further over, I think there might be a stop somewhere past that new gas station. So these are just, a few of the things. The kids, it makes me nervous if there's going to be more kids in that area. And I'm not, so much.
Yeah, we've been asking questions where we understand your concerns with that.
Yeah, and when they're going to be moving this, if this goes through, which I hope it doesn't, because it'd be foolish, and it's a tragedy will end up happening with just the traffic on that road. It's if for some reason it does, where are they going to move that electrical box? And because he said that that's what he planned on doing, and the telephone pole. So where are they going to move that to? And how is that going to cut into our property at all?
It can't. There's no way it can. But he will address that when after all the questions are asked. So
Okay.
Thank you for all your comments.
Yeah, and thank you for your time. I truly do appreciate it with your patience. These are just things we've
I
been here for
understand.
50
We understand.
years. So
Yep, we understand. Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Sure, come on up. And if we have multiple speakers, don't be afraid to come up here and be ready to go.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Herb, 387 East Mitchell Avenue. Herb, H-R-Y-B, Hotel Romeo Yankee Bravo. Yes, ma'am. When I come out East Mitchell Avenue onto Route 10, sometimes I'm behind UPS trucks and Federal Express making deliveries. They're having a hard time pulling out onto Route 10, going left or right. Now you take a full-size school bus coming out with a long wheelbase. If you look to your left, you don't have that line of sight, and cars come up real quick. I look to my left, look to my right, look to my left, there's a car right there. Happens. You're going, excuse me. You're going to take a full-size school bus, pull out. If he goes left, well, okay. I don't think it's too good, but if you're going right, that school bus going almost have to come out to the center line to make a right. The left front bumper would be crossing the yellow line. I don't think it's good. It's our children on the bus. Remember that. Those buses don't have a short turning radius like our cars. They have a wide. So that's something to think about. Even if you come up, and that road is not narrow. I mean, that road, East Mitchell, is narrow. So that school bus would have to hug the right curb on East Mitchell, pull straight out until the right axle clears the curb line on Route 10 to make the swing. I don't know, maybe try it. I hope my kid isn't on it, if I have any. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
Hi, my name is Dee. LaDonna, 445 East Mitchell Avenue. The last name? Ladonna. Thank you. I work with the school buses, and I believe Luther was contacted. Luther had said that school buses will not go down that road. It is too narrow. We do not do cul-de-sacs. And he recommended that sidewalks be put in, not just to the end of the development, but all the way up to Route 10.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
My name is Robert Weaver. I live at 419 East Mitchell Avenue. And excuse me? Oh, Weaver. Okay, that's 419 East Mitchell. Okay, I spoke last time. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. Somebody said here, made a comment about 2 entrances into the Cheshire Hillside Village. There's only one entrance in and out of there. The other entrance is strictly for emergency vehicles and cannot be used by the public. Wanted to say that there is a traffic problem there. I'll give you a little bit of my background. I'm the retired fire marshal for the town of Naugatuck. I've lived in Cheshire for 12 years. You've got a traffic problem at that corner. I don't object to the project going in there, but something is going to have to be done to widen that road if you're going to put all these houses in there. You try to make a left turn out of East Mitchell during the busy hours of the day. It's backed up on Highland Avenue. That one car's got to wait for the traffic to open up there, and it just backs up down the road. So that's really all I wanted to add. I said what I had last time, and I agree with what Mr. Sewell said. There's more, you're putting in banks there, you're putting in other things. It's just going to increase the volume on Route 10.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
My name is Robert Gagnon, Gagnon. I live at 475 East Mitchell for about 2 years. You mentioned earlier about an email for the concerns for, I would believe it was the police department.
Yeah, it was Chief Drive.
So are there any written concerns documented from either the Board of Education or the fire department concerning this project?
The fire department gave us comments. Nothing from the Board of Education.
Okay. And
he stated that, Mr. McAvoy stated that all the concerns from the fire department, they were aware of and they would take care of.
Okay. But
if the project would go through.
And when would the public, this group here, be aware of those concerns?
All the, be aware of them, like to see the comments and stuff?
Yes, to see them actually.
They're all available at the town hall. They're all available. Are they on the website? Do they go on a website?
No,
None of the
they're not
comments?
on the website, but they're available in our office at Town Hall, the planning department.
But would they be discussed in an open forum as such as tonight or at a later date?
Tonight.
Okay.
Tonight, next meeting, when, whenever,
Okay.
one of the public hearings
Sure.
they were discussing Mr. McAvoy started on it.
Is this
prior
the
to this.
final meeting before a decision is made, or?
There will not be a decision tonight. I'm not sure about closing the public hearing. We'll see there is some information that they still have to answer. I don't know if they
Right.
can answer it tonight. We'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. One last comment regarding the parking problem. I can say that I've driven out of that place left and right at various times of the day. 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock. One of the worst times is around 3 o'clock to about 3:30, because you have all the traffic coming from the schools down the street and various other cars coming the other way. And it can take minutes, not 21 seconds, to get out of that place, going either direction. And as far as the road, I don't see how we could actually feel safe unless sidewalks are put on that street. I mean, it truly, whatever dimensions are, it is a very narrow street. And I walk a lot myself, and I've walked up and down that hill. It's extremely steep. So I would be wary of kids walking down it, or even cars having to go up and down it without sidewalks especially.
Okay, we were talking about
Right,
that tonight.
of
so-
course, I'm just,
Yep.
just want to reiterate some of these points.
Sure.
All right,
Thank you.
for
Thank you
my-
so much. Any other members of the public?
I just have one quick question for the panel.
Need a name and
Where
address.
have you, oh,
Name and address,
sorry,
sir.
John Esposito, Esposito, Unit 383. 383, ma'am. Okay, thank you. I have one quick question. Where have you seen a cul-de-sac in this town or any town that supported 238 families if this project is approved within a quarter of a mile? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay. Mr. Pellegrino, Pellegrini, sorry. Did I have it right, Pellegrino? Sorry.
Thank you. Just for the record, to respond to some of the comments with regard to our site plan, the unit nearest to the neighbor who spoke earlier, our building is approximately 26 feet from the property line. Setback is 20 feet. Our building height in that location is not 40 feet. It's 2 stories with a roof, with a pitched roof. Again, not dissimilar than a typical residential structure that you see all around town. There's no sidewalk around the back side of the house. There is a relatively flat graded area and then a slope up to the property line. We are proposing so the relationship between our building and the property line is even less than 2 stories with a pitched roof. So in terms of balconies, we will have balconies. They will face out the rear of the building and out the front of the building. They will not face out the side of the building towards the neighbor's property. And I believe he was concerned about light coming in. Our site is to the east of his site. We are proposing an evergreen buffer. If that's not desired for purposes of light, we can certainly throttle back on that evergreen buffer, but we have proposed it for privacy purposes. And in terms of, go through some of my notes here, there's a number of comments. In terms of some of the comments from the chief, I'll address one of them. He did say that school buses don't go down a typical cul-de-sac because of the dimensions. Well, that's part of the reason why we provided a larger cul-de-sac than you typically would have in town for the purpose of allowing for a school bus to come down the road and make the movement fairly easily. Again, his comment is directed towards a standard cul-de-sac. Ours is an enhanced cul-de-sac, a larger cul-de-sac than would otherwise be seen around town. So the purpose of that, again, is to allow for the opportunity for a bus to come down there. I'm not certain that the school board of ed or the bus company would ultimately choose to do that, but we are providing for that opportunity. And I'll let Neil Linsky talk about some of the traffic items. Although I would say that when it comes to the data we use for our analysis, we did include DOT traffic studies in our analysis. We did include traffic estimates from nearby developments that have been either recently constructed or are under construction. So we did consider those in terms of our traffic, our future build out analysis. And with that, I'll turn it over to Neil just to discuss some of the other items that came up, to the extent we can address them tonight.
Thank you, Ryan. Again, Neil Olinsky. Yeah, I did skim or more thoroughly read through the chief's comments, and essentially did touch on just about all of them. And number one, he He talks about the need for bypass for southbound left turning vehicles on Route 10 into East Mitchell. There is a wide shoulder. There essentially is bypass up at Hinman. There is also a shoulder there. So if someone's waiting at the light northbound to take a left onto Hinman, other cars, I don't have the exact measurements in front of me, but there is a shoulder. And I know I've headed northbound or bypassed around a car waiting to turn left. And I've been able to head north on Route 10. The chief's comment number 2, the trip generation estimates. We did go over that with regard to using ITE stats, really industry accepted stats, CONDOT accepted statistics. The school bus stuff in comment 3, Ryan addressed that. And number 4, I mean, really, it is Route 10 is a state road. What you have is essentially, I don't want to say it's the end of the world issue, but there is traffic on Route 10 today. That's a fact. Quite frankly, there needs to be some sort of more regional study by the South Central Connecticut Regional Council of Governments or CONDOT or something like that for the entire Route 10 corridor. I mean, really, Route 10 is the only real easy north-south route. So therefore, everything funnels on Route 10. And to bring it back down to earth in terms of this development, it's 56 units. It's just not expected to add a whole heck of a lot of new traffic, and it's not expected to cause perceptible impact in terms of making things worse. That's what our study found. And in terms of some of the public comments, just looking through those, and we did touch on a bunch of those. And as Ryan mentioned, we did do counts. We did not do 2 counts, but we did manual counts of the intersection, what they call turning movement counts. Or we sometimes hire a sub-consultant, but someone sits there and observes for 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, every car at the intersections that we studied, going through, turning, left, right, et cetera. And on top of that, we did look at state data, and CONDOT generally every few years does what they call their traffic monitoring data throughout the state. They do 2 counts. I think the last one that was done in the area was south of the site on Route 10 in 2019. So we did look at that and incorporate that into our study. I think that's it with regard to traffic. Ryan? Yep.
Ryan, there was also a comment about some electrical box. Or
Yeah,
something.
that's what
Is that what you're going to call it?
that's exactly what I wanted to refer to. So hold on one second. Okay, so this plan, I think illustrates a little bit where we're picking up the road and widening the road and as we approach to our proposed cul-de-sac. As part of this, that you can't really see on this plan because it's only a 2-dimensional plan, we are softening the grade. Right now, the grade is around, approach is about 12% in the road. And where we pick up the road and widening it, we're going to soften that to something less than what it is today. And to as we approach the cul-de-sac, transition from 12% to 4% grade at the cul-de-sac itself. So we are widening it. The widening will not affect the neighboring property. The relocated utilities associated with the widening will not affect the abutting property. And in fact, the widening that we're proposing is generally, it's kind of a blend between on our side of the road and their side of the road, but none of the activity will require any intrusion onto the abutting property to accomplish the road widening or the utility relocation.
Okay, we had another member of the public that would like to speak.
Thank you. My name is Dolores Amicelli, ANNICELLI, 477 East Mitchell Avenue. Oh, thank you. I would just like to say a couple of things. With the 56 units that they're going to build, we have 82. Mr. Capone has 100. That's a total of about 238 cars that are going to be using Mitchell Avenue. And it's going to be so crowded. If a fire truck comes down, they're not going to be able to get down. And children, they need sidewalks and a wider street. Are they going to do that? That's all I have, except I have a petition. Shall I hand it to you, sir?
Petition, what's it? You can grab it and then we'll take it into.
Thank you.
So just read into the record, the petition to the Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission regarding proposed zoning changes to Mitchell Avenue from R40 in order to build 56-unit housing development located at 6469 7480 East Mitchell Avenue. We oppose the petition of Stratmore Holdings LLC to change the current R40 zoning district to affordable housing development in order to construct 56 housing development. There are often cars parked on the road, which prohibits 2 lanes of traffic from moving at the same time efficiently. Traffic backs up at the stop sign on East Mitchell, and Route 10 frequently it is very difficult to enter flowing traffic. It's signed by an individual at 477, is Dolores, who just spoke, 475. Diane, I think, Robert at 475, Carol at 465, someone at 467, I apologize, I can't read the name, 389, Philip at 391, 369, Ann at 373, Annette at 377, Mary Ann at 379, Christine at 397, Marta at 385, Joe at 383, Margaret at 321, Mary at 319, Bev at 331, Ruth at 353, Mario at 357, I think it's Barbara at 359, I can't read this name, at 361, Joe at 317, Robert 365, Jeremy at 367, Faith at 401, an individual at 403, Joseph at 415, Sue at 411, Ann at 333.
Is that something we could just get a copy and
Yeah,
get to us? I mean, we don't have to go through everybody.
we can make a copy. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because you got 2 more pages of the individuals.
Okay. Mr. Natai.
Yeah, just for point of clarification on that. So with the petition, you're going to review it, figure out how many, assuming that all those signatures are legitimate. So I'm not saying they're not, but we have to verify that those are legitimate and see if they meet the litmus test for having a supermajority or not for a vote. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll look at that. I'll share that with the applicant so they're aware of this.
Okay. What do you think, Mike? Professional opinion, keeping the public hearing open.
I think it'd be wise to keep the public hearing open. I think that
Chief's not here to respond.
I would like Neil to get a
anything.
chance to review what was said tonight. Also, maybe that Neil can get a chance to connect with the applicant. Maybe they can iron out some of the issues, and then also maybe get something in writing from Luther.
That
has
was
been brought
one
up.
of my questions. I'd like to know about the school bus.
And maybe the only other question to Ryan would be, if they have to replace the water line, where would that go in East Mitchell? Because if you're working within the right of way and they're digging up a side of the road shoulder, maybe there's an area to also include improvements such as a sidewalk.
I think we'd all love to see that, but
I'm putting that out there. That's the applicant's decision, but just as food for thought.
Yeah.
especially if you're going to replace that 6-inch with an 8-inch line. And like I said,
Well, they weren't sure if they're going to do that. It's if they had to check the flows first.
Yeah.
To see.
but I think maybe just for food for thought for the commission.
That was Mr. Dawson's comment earlier.
Yep.
Well, the problem with that is that after they build it, then the town takes it over. Then the town of Cheshire's taxpayers will be paying for that sidewalk. So sometimes we don't make things clear enough, at least for the record. So when these things come up, that's why I say sometimes we better start thinking about if we're going to deal this way, then we better start getting independent people, experts to come in to verify the testimonies and so forth if they're correct. If you check with other towns, they do a lot of that.
Are you asking for an independent traffic study?
Beg pardon?
Are you asking for an independent
Well, if
traffic
we're
study?
going to keep the meeting open, no, because I agree. I'm a fair person. Now the applicant has an idea of what's going on, and we do. So now when they come back, I'm sure that they'll do their due diligence, and if we aren't happy, then at that point, I might request it. It's a two-way street. We work together and try to help the applicant and protect the town. That's my feelings. My feelings are the town taxpayers. I want to make sure they're protected. There's no profit for them at all, except taxes and higher taxes.
With the chief having a couple concerns, would it be something that we could have an independent traffic study?
You could. I mean, you have a traffic
I-
engineer that's
Quick.
telling,
How would it,
how's this, maybe the interim, I can ask our consulting engineer, whether they have an in-house traffic engineer specific, because we ran into an issue recently. We needed a licensed environmental professional, and they're able to get that specialty. So if they have a traffic engineer in-house at BNL, maybe we could ask them to do this. I mean, you meet in 2 weeks
that's the problem.
on the 28th,
Right.
and then the next meeting after that would be,
How about time restraints would we need for if we kept the public hearing open? We would need a letter from the applicant.
14th. So the terminal date right now is the 16th for this application. The applicant gave us a 30-day extension.
Okay.
If we needed, maybe we can talk with the applicant if we can get another 30 days just in case.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We want to work with you just like you want to work with us. I mean, we want to get it right. We don't have any problem if the ultimate decision is to bring on an independent. I might even welcome it because, that helps corroborate the experts or not, and then we know what we're dealing with. So I don't really have any problem with that. I think maybe in the next 2 weeks, there could, not having seen the memo and had the opportunity for our consultant to actually contact the chief and try to
Try and work
either
something out.
provide more information, work it out, talk about alternatives. Maybe that can happen, but maybe even if it does, there may be a desire to have an independent corroboration with someone. If BNL, I think they have somebody in-house. So that could be either you think about doing that now or
I'd feel
in
more
2
comfortable.
weeks.
Feel more comfortable leaving it open.
Yeah.
Possibly getting that. That would be
I'm fine.
great.
We need to look at that petition as
and you-
well. So
Yeah.
So
So-
I think we give whatever extension you want. You want 30 days, we can give that now, but we come back in 2 weeks, assuming there's not a
Oh, yeah.
snowstorm that prevents us.
Yep.
You've got the time that you need just in case, but we come back and report about the discussions, make that decision. You may even be able to get a
I'd
a
feel
price
much-
quote or
Much
something,
more comfortable with that.
a
so.
scope of what they need. So we're happy to work
Okay.
kind of along that path. So I hereby grant that 30-day extension. If necessary, we table for 2 weeks. In the meantime, we'll work with the chief and we'll come back and see where we are and take it from there.
Thank you. Mr. Kaderis?
Just commenting on, Mr. Sullivan is somebody who's not unknown to this committee. He's been testifying in the 14 years that I've been on this board, and I've found, well, people often question his assumptions in the last 14 years. He's always testified credibly, and he's got a track record there.
Sure.
I don't have an issue with somebody reviewing a study, but I don't see the need for a second one.
Additional.
But a peer review of it might be appropriate.
Well, I want to make this very clear. I thought I did in the beginning, but maybe you didn't hear me. I have my mask on. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong. I don't say I disagree with them. I think if you play the tape over, you'll find that we have a very good stenographer there. She does a great job, so we'll get that out of there. But basically, I'm just saying, I know Route 10. I live on Route 10. I've been here all my life. I'm 82 years old. So I know Cheshire better than most people, except for my friend Tim Slocum. He knows Cheshire a little better than me, but we go back and forth. And I just want you to know that Route 10 has been a problem since I was a young fella. And since then, it's got pretty worn out, but they're still taking traffic. But I'm not questioning the traffic engineer. I wouldn't question any engineer. If you remember, when I started off, I said I'm not a professional. I know nothing about being a traffic engineer. I respect all engineers and all professional people. I just want the record to note that. But I feel that I don't sit up here just to waste my time because I could be home watching TV.
I'm no traffic engineer either, but probably we all agree Route 10 is a busy road, right? We know that it takes a huge volume of traffic. We want to be sure that the addition of this project isn't making that worse. And Mr. Sullivan has said and Mr. Alinsky has said the volume from this project is not significant. We probably all can get our heads around that. I think probably what the issue is that intersection and getting people in and out of there in a reasonable fashion is something he wants to look at and look at our data closer. And we're happy to see if maybe there's something that can be done to help move the traffic. I don't know. That's what I think the issue is. So I'm with you, and we're happy to sit down with them and talk about that.
Well, I'm waiting for a fat lady to sing because eventually it's going to burst because it's been going on that Route 10, more and more development, more and more development. I don't know how much the fat lady's going to take before she starts singing. That's all I'm saying,
Yeah, I get it.
But I appreciate your expertise and your experts. I have a lot of respect for them, but I just have my opinion and I'm entitled to it, and the voters voted for me, and I try to work hard to do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Natale.
I'm sorry. I got thinking about the fat lady singing there, Woody. It's good. I like it.
Sometimes it has to be said.
I have to say,
People sit alongside the snicker. I don't.
oh, it's good. No, it's good, Woody. We're all good. So I'm kind of torn. I'm just waiting to hear something that's going to make me feel a little more comfortable about children walking up that street. I know that we don't have a commitment from the school bus company. I know that you're going to talk to them and work with them, but short of sidewalks for kids to make it up to Route 10 to wait for a bus, or buses coming down, I got to hear something that's going to convince me that these kids are going to be safe. Because if I were to move down there, I would not let my daughter walk up that street. So I'm hoping that with the next hearing or the next meeting, you come with something that's going to make me, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but we need to feel comfortable with that because one of the criteria is public safety for the approval.
Yep, I can appreciate that, and that's on the chief's list, and certainly that's an issue we're going to look at.
Mr. Teska.
Yeah, I was going to second what Mr. Natale said. I'm not sure where I would come out on this.
Your mic.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to second what Mr. Natale said. I'm not sure where I would come out on this application. The hearing's not over and it requires some review and some thought. But we do have a regulation that specifically says one of the criteria is whether the pedestrian circulation system is adequate for the pedestrian traffic anticipated in the development and incorporates all necessary safety precautions for children walking to and from schools or bus stops. So, I mean, we even have a regulation that's specifically on this point, on this one, which gives it a little more importance. I realize this is an affordable housing application and there's different considerations in terms of what you have to consider and burdens of proof and such, but we do have that regulation, which is of some significance. I'm finished.
Yep.
Thank you.
And
Yes, and I'm turning on my mic. It is 44, hope it's the right one, 44A.7.2 subsection D. Yes.
Okay.
we will look at that, Reg. I think our interpretation of that section is that is within the project site, but notwithstanding that fact, we're still willing to look at sidewalks in the public roadway system.
I thought of that also, but it talks about walking to or from schools or bus stops. So it specifically says schools, which suggests to me it means leaving the project too. But it's, I mean, your point is, I had the same thought with yours, but it does say schools.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna be holding this public hearing open.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we'll be back
See you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Moving on, number 4, special permit application of Craig Goldstein, 10 George Avenue, addition of indoor pool and there, near the call, please.
Special permit application of Craig Goldstein, 382 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, for an addition to install an indoor pool that will be used for therapeutic purposes. Property located at 10 George Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 57, Lot 201, in an R20A zone.
Yeah, you don't mind.
No, I don't.
If anybody's having a conversation, we ask that you take it outside so that we can continue. Thank you.
You got me with that one.
You know, sometimes things have to be said. They really do. You know, you did a lot of homework. I listened.
He's here.
Sorry for the delay.
It's okay. Nobody wants to listen to me, I guess. You guys ready for me?
Sure, go right ahead.
So
Sorry about
my
that.
name's Scott Nolan, representative of SLR, civil engineer, licensed engineer in training, presenting on behalf of the applicant for a building addition for a pool for therapeutic and aquatic fitness purposes. The addition conforms to all the setbacks and approved variance to conforming to the 12-foot setback to Maple Ave and the 26-foot setback, front setback to George Avenue, both per the variance. The building addition will not impact any sort of access to the site, and is also, the addition is also in conformance with the building lot coverage per the regulations for R20A zoning. All the existing parking on site will remain the same. There's no change to the 16 proposed spaces, noting that the accessible space at the southwest corner of the existing building will remain unchanged. We have addressed some concerns with the increased runoff and added an additional Storm Tech SC740 underground chamber to accommodate the increase in flows. Originally, the one chamber was implemented to address the first inch of runoff per water quality volume. However, after the independent review and engineering comments, we determined that we would need an additional chamber totaling 211 cubic feet of storage to address the additional 118 cubic feet of the increase in runoff from a 100-year storm event. And that's due to a very slight increase in impervious surface due to the building addition. Some of that being offsetted by some of the removed concrete walk around the side to accommodate the addition itself. Open this to any questions at this time. And if any members of the public want to see my the site plans, I can also turn that around.
Okay. Any commission members?
You want to see it?
Mr. Natalis, sorry.
No problem. Had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, we have copies up here too. So.
And Michael, I think this is for you, just for clarification. So in the staff comments, says the operation will be operated independent of the existing facility, but it is part of the same business, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner, any other commission members? Questions? Mr. Stroll?
And the additions on the front of the building on Maple Avenue.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commission members? Questions? No. Any? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tedesco.
And there is provision for adequate parking?
Yes, the existing parking has shared parking with the adjacent property to the northeast, but we are not proposing any changes to the parking lot or the spaces. All of that is remaining the same as it was, even with the addition. So.
And this is a pool inside the building for therapy purposes. It's going to be put in a building extension for which you've been granted a variance from the zoning board of appeals. So including the variance, then it meets all the zoning requirements.
That is correct. That is correct.
And I might have missed it. Did you, number 5, the question on the B&L report, did you answer that? North side of the roof addition to be piped and the infiltration in the south, and will there be any revisions to the existing roof drains that outlet to grade?
So the entire roof area of the proposed pool addition will be routed to the underground chambers. All of the existing roof leaders that discharge to grade are going to remain discharging to grade. Those will not tie into the underground.
Okay. Anyone from the public? I just need you to come up to the microphone. We need your name and address for the record. Just all right.
So I'm Scott Tansley, Tansldy. I own 275 Maple Ave, which is the adjacent northwest. Am I the northwest property you're describing?
That property right there.
It's the Victorian house. I don't speak this.
Your Moxie properties?
Yes.
Yes. That's right here.
Where are there 16 parking spots for that?
You gotta have to talk on a microphone. I'm sorry. You can take it with you. We can't hear you, and we gotta get down.
I just want to understand where 16 parking spots were, because I own the property adjacent to it, and I just can't picture where there's 16 spots for that property. So I'm just.
I think.
I gotta switch.
Oh, you can answer it.
So it's not clearly delineated with the striping there, but it's been determined that there's 15 on the northern side of the building, and the 16th is the one accessible space on the southwest corner of the building.
So this is 10 spots going this way? I mean, it just seems.
We have a rendering here, and if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, I just can't, I just didn't know if that was including anything that was on our side. Okay, I'm just curious.
EJ's staff report has some notes about that.
Yeah, I'm holding on.
Yeah.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this? Ask a question? Okay. I see no reason to hold this open. Everyone good with closing it? You're all set? You're
all set. Thank you
close
for your
the public
time.
hearing. Okay, special permit application, Cheshire Housing Authority, 50 Rumberg Road. You hear the call for that, please?
A special permit application of Cheshire Housing Authority, care of Sue Watts, TO Design LLC, 114 West Main Street, New Britain, Connecticut, 06051, to replace sidewalks, parking and driveways, mailbox kiosk, widening fire lane, and addition of 21 parking spaces, lighting and landscaping, property located at 50 Rumburg Road, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 50, lot number 39 in R20A zone.
Thank you. And representing the applicant tonight?
Okay. Hi, I'm Ann Belcher from Cheshire Housing Authority. Give a little brief history before Sue comes up. The Housing Authority came before the commission back in 2017 when we had applied for Small Cities Grant. It included much needed parking and widening of the roads, which was approved at that point in 2017. We have made some improvements to that application, and that's what we're here for tonight. We have consulted with the fire department and the police department to do the best we could for the safety of the area and our residents and make it better for the fire and police to service our residents. We currently have 44 spaces with 48 apartments. There's not enough parking, obviously, for our residents or the people who come to visit them or service them, their aides, their nurses, whatever. It's hard for the senior bus to get in and out of there. A little bit more history. Back in the early 90s, the driveway and parking lot was resurfaced. And at that point, 10 spots were added to make the 44. So with that, I'll turn it over to Susan.
So glad to take that thing off. It's worth standing up here just for that ability. For the record, my name is Sue Watts. I'm a licensed landscape architect from 2 Design in New Britain. We were hired by the Housing Authority to take a look at this project. Tonight, we're looking for a modification of the existing special permit. It's a 17-acre site. It's located in the R20A zone, completely surrounded by R20A properties. There's 48 units of affordable elderly housing. And as Ann said, there's 44 parking spaces. This all started out as a maintenance project just to repair, basically repave all the bituminous driveways and parking spaces and replace the bituminous sidewalks with concrete. We will be using mountable curbs everywhere where we can, besides the sidewalks, to aid in snow removal and keep the drives as clear as possible. We're doing some accessibility improvements there's a lot of steep sidewalks in there. We're going to have the sidewalks be at 5% or less. And then we've added a couple of handicap ramps where we had to do that. The driveways are all being widened to improve the accessibility for fire and police. And we've actually run, we have an auto turn program, and we were able to run a simulation of the actual Cheshire fire truck going through the entire site, including the fire lane that runs through the middle of the property. We are going to, I'm just going to take this microphone. We're going to be installing a new dumpster. Is that too loud? I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
Okay. Installing a new dumpster enclosure at this location. And in addition to that, there's going to be a mailbox shelter. So it's like a roof that has mailboxes clustered underneath it. Those are the only 2 structures that are proposed for this property. The light colored are the new sidewalks. You see these little things that stick out every once in a while. Those are actually little spots where people could put a chair and sit outside. So when, as Ann said, when this property was constructed, they did not build nearly enough parking spaces with the current zoning standards. There are 48 units here. They should have 96 parking spaces. They have 44. So it's really tight on parking. So we were tasked with trying to find places to put them. We had them, we were basically starting to put them along the roadway, but met with the fire department, the police department. They had some concerns about people blocking, not parking perfectly, and possibly blocking or being in the way when the fire truck's coming through. So based on that conversation, we put the parking over in this location. So there's a couple other spaces. There's a couple spaces there. There's one there, another one over here, and basically just infilling. There's a handicap spot located there because there's a handicap unit right there. And then we had these spaces proposed. The town recommended that we just extend the parking this direction. Unfortunately, we don't have the survey for that area. The surveyors went out. We've just received that information. So we're showing this as future parking. It's completely buildable, but we just haven't gotten to preparing the plans for it yet. So what we're hoping is that tonight you'll be able to approve the site plan and approve the location of the future parking, and then we would work it out with the town, providing the plans that are necessary to make sure that that everyone's happy with the way that it's being built. We are proposing a couple of new lights around this area. There's, with the plan the way it's shown right now, there's two, but there'd be like probably two more. They're LED dark sky compliant lights. They'd be 3000K, so they're the warmer color. This parking is not going to be any closer to the closest property line than it is now. This is 140 feet and it's all woods. And I think that pretty much covers it. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Soma.
It just for clarification, the 21 extra parking spots are including 11 that are hopefully be approved soon.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you just 10 others scattered about, basically.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commission members, questions? No. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this? No? Getting off easy tonight.
Yeah, compared to the last people.
Yeah, right. All right, so with that, we'll be closing this public hearing. Thank you. Moving on, last number 6, special permit application of Cheshire Academy.
The special permit application of Cheshire Academy, care of Kevin, I'm sorry about your last name, you can correct me, Fusilier, SLR International Corporation, 99 Realty Drive, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, to replace existing running track and synthetic turf field, demolition of 4 tennis courts, construction of 3 tennis courts with lighting, and conversion of grass athletic field to a synthetic with perimeter fencing and field lighting. Located at 10 Main Street, Academy Road, as generally shown in Assessor's Map number 57, lots number 298 in an R40 zone.
Thank you. And representing the applicant tonight?
You did well with my last name, Fusilier. It's been butchered many times in my career. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Kevin Fusilier. I'm a principal landscape architect with SLR, 99 Realty Drive in Cheshire. If he feels like speaking, Ryan McAvoy is here as our engineer for the project. Sure, Fusilier, Fuselier. Also here is Julie Anderson, the head of school for Cheshire Academy. That's who we're here on behalf of. So the project is right up the street at 10 Main Street, the campus of Cheshire Academy. There's actually 3 components to this project, and I'll walk over here and walk you through it. So part of it's just a maintenance project. They have an existing running track in synthetic turf field. Due to overuse and just the longevity of the product, they need to be replaced. So the blue rubber track's going to be removed and replaced. The synthetic turf carpet and infill will be removed and replaced. The pavements below are not changing. Just the appearance on top will change a little bit. They're going to have light blue colored exchange zones and a new midfield logo to represent their new graphic.
Nothing's changed at all? And it seems kind of strange that this is in front of us. I mean, just.
Well, it's part of the package that went to inland wetlands. So rather than deconstruct it, we figured we'd show it to you. There is going to be trucks moving in and out of the site when this work is to be done.
Yeah, but is it something that requires a permit from the zoning department?
There's other activities, that's just the track.
That was part one of the project.
Yeah.
Part two is just, again, there's existing 4-court tennis courts in the middle of the campus. Those courts are going to be removed. The fencing, the asphalt surfacing, wooden structure, shade structure in the middle. That area is going to be demoed, graded level, topsoil and seeded. The big piece of the project is the northern field. It's an existing grass multi-purpose field. The school wants to convert it to synthetic turf and with the primary focus on softball. Because currently their existing softball fields, undersized, awkward configuration. And then also having a second synthetic turf field will relieve some of the burden off their primary stadium field. So this plan shows the new synthetic turf multi-purpose field, but with the primary focus being on the softball. And then also the construction of 3 new tennis courts just south of their existing battery. This field will be fully fenced with 4-foot chain link fence. It'll have 30-foot backstop netting. It'll have removable foul poles. And the fields and the courts are proposed to be lit with LED technology. The multi-purpose field will have 70-foot poles. I guess I don't need to wear this, right?
No.
It keeps falling. And then 50-foot poles on the tennis courts. The tennis courts will be constructed from post-tension concrete. There will be some improvements to walkways around the south and east side of the field. And then storm drainage designed to capture runoff from the hillside to the north, the tennis courts, and it all goes into level spreaders that discharge eventually into Honeybrook or Honeypot Brook. So lighting is, I know, probably one of the primary concerns here. We did provide photometric plans with the LED technology. There's almost no spill off the property line. We took a 500-foot measurement because I believe that's the closest residential unit to here. And it's 0 foot candles of spill. They're very far from it. So then comes into play is the brightness and being able to see the fixture, which is measured in candela. An old-fashioned lighting fixture would be around 1,000 plus candela. This one at 500 feet, these LEDs would be about 7. So very minimal light spill, light glare from the proposed fixtures. And the LED technology is what they recently upgraded the high school field with. So it's a big difference between the old technology.
What?
So there would be 4 for the tennis court and 5 for the multi-purpose field. Given the awkward shape, we had to add an extra light pole to that field.
What's to the north of the tennis courts? What is a?
So there's existing 6 tennis courts. To the north of that, it's all wooded around here. This
And
is
they're still-
very secluded out here.
Yeah, but that's tennis courts that will remain there.
Those are going to remain, correct. Those are the only courts in use currently. If they elect to do the lighting on this court, that would be the only battery of lit courts. They don't plan on lighting the existing courts.
What's the closest property to you?
Dude.
Well, the property line does run right
Yeah,
here.
roughly in footage. You don't need to be exact. I know the spot. I worked on that academy.
Yeah,
I
so
built the library.
I want to say we're about 75 feet from this property line, but the closest residential to this area, let's see if maybe it's in this aerial. But yeah, there you go. So this is about 500 feet from the project site to those first resident units.
Yeah, that's the point
That's
I wanted
hillside.
to get across. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So-
That's East Mitchell.
I'm going to pump the brakes.
We did notify everyone.
I'm recused from that other application, but looking at this little map of there, it looks like that project's going to be right behind this other application, right? It's bordering that.
Mm,
I mean, it looks like lot 358
Ryan,
and
would you know the answer to
74
that?
are all the lots that's the other application, right? I don't know. Am I right or wrong?
It's in reasonable proximity to it. I think it's actually probably closer to the property that's owned by the apartments to the north of the East Mitchell site. The property lines back there are a little odd in their configuration, but
So is
when and if East Mitchell Avenue development gets built, I believe those units would probably be the closest to this site.
but is 358 Hidden Pond, or is 358 part of the other application?
350.
Lot 358 on
part
on
of-
our little thing.
It's part of the
Parcel.
affordable housing.
Which one is that?
May I approach Mr. Stello?
Yeah, just
Yeah, this is Hillside Village, right? What is that? That's 358 is.
That's their property.
That wraps around. Okay, so that's part
How
of.
will that be, that property line?
No, so the East Mitchell application is ready here. These lots here? Yeah, those kind of. So what's this? That's for the suburban apartments that wrap around all the way up to the town. Hidden Pond. Is that, I forget the name of it. Okay, so that's a separate, that's a buffer between. That's right. Okay, that's all I want to know, there's a buffer in between.
okay. So now I understand where the lots are. So in between, I had the same question as EJ, is that you're eliminating the tennis courts, and then where there's like a little smiley face grass thing, that's where you want to put this complex. And then you're gonna cover over the existing tennis courts with grass. And then this surface will be the same as the other field.
That's correct. Yep, it's just an upgraded turf surface.
I mean, maybe I've been on here too long. How long ago was that approved for the other thing? Didn't it? 15 years ago?
You're gonna need to come up to the mic if you're gonna speak. We need to get you on record.
I mean, I know we approved.
It's, I
when we
want to say
did-
it's probably 12. I was involved in that project.
12
as
years
well.
ago?
Yeah. Is that- oh,
It's
okay,
12 years ago? Okay, so 12 years ago.
Yep.
And in 12 years, that deteriorated already.
Yeah, and 12 years is actually a pretty good lifespan for turf. Turf typically comes with an 8-year warranty. Every year we see a stronger, better quality turf come out. But depending on the level of use, and that being in their only turf field,
Yeah.
got the brunt of the abuse. So the turf not failed, but is just 12 years is really as much as you would want to get out of it and have a safe playing surface. The track surfacing is worn out a little prematurely, but if you don't do periodic maintenance, you just can't bring it back to life. So while they're doing this, they're just going to all do it at once and have a fresh
Because like I said,
facility.
it seems like it was not that, 12 years. is a long
No,
time, I guess it
but
is.
turf, 12 years is good run for any turf.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured like it'd be 20, but I guess I was wrong. All right, so thank you very much.
Any other commission members, Mr. Tedesco?
Are the lights on all night? What hours are the lights on?
The school would have to answer that, but I don't believe there's any plan to run it any longer than they run their current field, which is their primary field. Aside from softball games, this field's going to be practice. I don't know if the school currently has a policy of what time they shut off. I don't believe anyone would run them all night long. Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie Anderson, Anderson, and I live at 10 Main Street. Typically we're currently, our current track and field has lights on like on Monday through Friday till maybe in the fall season, September through November till about 7:30, 8 o'clock. But with an additional field because we have to run practices very late so that each team gets their time. That's one of the reasons for the additional field, so that we don't have to run practices so late. But typically, we might have 1 or 2 games during a season that might be a night game. So, for example, a Friday night, and that might be 8, 9 o'clock, but not every week in the fall. Obviously not in the winter at all. We're not out there. And then in the spring, I would say it just depends again on how dark it is, but usually 8 or 9 o'clock. And again, it would be for our purpose, if we have that second turf, we would just need it. We wouldn't need them on a daily basis for practice. It'd be more just if we have an evening game. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Tully.
Couple questions. So where is Baxter Court on there? Because I know it's right in the area. Is it under the trees?
So Baxter Court is way over here.
Okay, so it's not closer than the Mitchell that we were talking about. And I know, there's a development that was approved that's going in on Academy and Weiss that kind of snakes through there. So I don't know if you have any information on that, but how close those new houses will be to the fields?
So Academy and Weiss, that's Orchard View subdivision that's currently under construction. The nearest units are going to be I estimate about 200 feet to the east of this maintenance building shown here in white. So again, that would be roughly, it's probably over 1,000 feet away. I'd get best guess.
And while you're looking at that, also, I'm just looking at the lighting plan.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm on my phone because I don't have it with me tonight. So page 7 to 12, and it gives the chart and it lists all the amenities. So the football field, soccer, softball, infield, outfield, and the tennis courts. And as an example, it says for the football, it gives the illumination and everything else, which you're familiar with. But at the end, it says fixture quantity 44. Is that individual like light bulbs as part of the LED system, or what is that? Because I know that you said
So
there's
each pole has these shoebox units on it. And so the total is all the poles in all the shoeboxes. So that's what that number represents. So let's see, equipment.
So just to be clear, it's not just like one light bulb there. It's a series of light bulbs. So 44.
Correct. If they were all equal, is that the grid on the left or the right? Light
That's the
levels?
grid on, from what I see on the top of page 7 to 12.
So 44 of those fixtures are going to be dedicated to football. So between the 5 poles, there's going to be 44 fixtures on there. And so I'm just looking, tennis, there's only 12 fixtures on the total of the four poles. So 3 fixtures on each pole, one in the middle and 2 off the sides.
Okay. And with the 70-foot height, again, you said there's no bleeding into the surrounding properties because of the distance?
The spill is on this diagram that's in the submittal package. The first line represents less than a foot candle. So that's half of what a parking lot would have to be lit at. And so that's not even accounting for any of the vegetation and topography that we have out there. So maybe in winter, some of that will get through, but definitely not when there's vegetation out there. So, the second line, it already drops down to half a foot candle. And that third lighter line, which does go a little bit over the property, but not even close to that the Honey Pot Brook buffer that we showed or talked about, you're down to 0 foot candles.
Gotcha. And I saw the other chart that you had in the lighting plan with the different, the difference between the lights years ago and as you progress. So you're going with the most modern. So I know some places in town you go and it's a shopping center or a development or something, and it lights up the sky above. It may not go to the properties there.
Right. And that's the glare aspect. So what you actually see.
So the new technology will avoid having that glare?
At 500 feet, which again is that closest property, it's that 7 candela that's represented by that newest fixture. So it's a pretty pretty stunning, decrease from what old technology and what we're getting now with the
Gotcha. But
LED.
like I'm saying, like if I'm down the street from the shopping center now, the shopping center is there, even if you're
Right.
not even close to it, because you see the sky lit up. So it's not going to do that.
No, absolutely not. Only if you're right under it, then it's going to be bright.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other commission members? No. Anyone from the public wishing to, sure, come on up. Name and address for the record.
Hi, Doug Wilson, 200 Academy Road. Everybody says that those lights aren't going to be that bright. Well, I can go into my house, right? Those lights are on in the football field. I can walk into my house. I don't have to turn a light on. It is so bright in there that I could actually read a newspaper. And they don't turn them off at night. They're on all weekend long because everybody that's in charge over there usually goes home. And it's just the kids that are left there that are in charge of everything. So I can't listen to my TV unless I turn it way up. I can't watch it unless I close the blinds because the glare coming through. And now they want to add more lights closer to my house. In the summertime, it's not bad. But in the wintertime, when there's no leaves on the ground to fall, and then they play music there, and it's so loud, you can't hear yourself think. My granddaughter came up to me. She's 9 years old. She said, "Grandpa, they're playing the dirtiest song I've ever heard with Tupac Shakur, of what he's going to do to the mother and the daughter and everybody." I've had kids walk up to the fence line, whip it on, and take a leak while they're standing there looking at us on the deck. And you mention something to them, and it's, "Oh, no, that's not true." Yeah, well, I can't stand out in the summertime in my yard. You'll get hit with a baseball.
I was going to say, your home is adjacent to the baseball field.
Right. They put center home plate
Right by your.
right by me, just there.
So, but the lights that you're
There's no-
complaining about
there-
is
there-
from the baseball field or from the football field?
From the football field way over.
That far away?
Yeah. And, they're brighter than heck. And they turn them on and they stay on because whoever goes in charge, well, I'm not getting paid more. I'm going home.
This project itself would be further away. I think Brian could speak to that, but further away from your home than the current football field that's there now. Right? I mean, Ryan, I believe he's lot number 200.
Yes.
Or 218 and 200.
I have both of them.
Okay.
I own both
I
of
mean,
them.
to my looking at my eyes, it looks like the current football field would be closer than the proposed new.
Yeah, that's the tennis courts are down a little bit lower.
But
When you
those
put
are-
a pole up with a light on it. Now I get them from over here and I'll get them from over here.
Can I take the mic just for 1 second?
Sure.
So I'm not exactly sure which property the gentleman's referring to, but I presume it's some of these.
It's right behind home plate.
Okay,
Right,
so
like
right
by
here.
the right.
Okay, so the football field, just by
Right field,
just by
yeah.
visual inspection is quite a bit closer than where this lighting's going to be. It's almost double. the
Mr. Wilson, do you
distance.
see where the new lighting that they're proposing is going to be?
So your home is roughly here. Here's the baseball field. Here's the existing football field, synthetic track. We're going to be.
These
what-
lights from here are so bright. This is actually my house,
Mhm.
my other house. The lights from there are so bright that I don't need lights in my house.
Right. I understand. And I'm just pointing out where the new fields are lighting is going to go with respect to your house, just to show that it's quite a bit further.
The tennis courts you're taking down, are these courts right here?
Correct.
Is that the ones you're putting the lighting on?
No, the tennis courts with the lighting will be,
The ones
will be,
way
will
out
be
there?
right there.
That I don't mind, but it's just the idea.
That's the lights that are there now are there now. That's not what they're proposing. They're proposing it the further distance away.
they've, uh, they've said so much and done so much, like that baseball field. That was put there just so that I would sell it to them, you know. And I've had the cops up there so many times, and the cops are dodging baseballs that are coming over, but I can't do anything about it. If I say something to them, I'm the one that's in the wrong because, oh, they're foreigners, you know, we got to show them respect. No, I don't. I got to show my wife and kids, my grandkids respect. Not somebody else that doesn't even pay taxes in the United States. I pay taxes on 2 different houses. Both are right there.
Yeah, I hear your concern, but again, the proposal that's in front of us tonight is the one that's the further back that should not. And then we've heard testimony will not affect the
that won't
lighting.
affect me.
Yeah,
no.
so it's, I mean, the other issues that you have with the baseball field or the current football field is not something we have any control over.
Yeah,
So
I know they said that there's no parking, no bleachers, no dugouts, no this, no that. They got them all in that baseball field.
all right, well, maybe we can have the zoning enforcement officer take a run out there just to make sure
But
that they're following the guidlines that they were approved on for.
I called the
those.
zoning enforcement when they were putting the dugouts in. The girl came, parked way down at the bottom of the driveway, walked all the way down to the end, and came back up, and she's way out past left field. And she sent me a letter saying there's no evidence of dugouts being put in.
Okay.
So I
Well,
asked her.
again, it's not part of this project, so I don't want to go too much
Yeah.
on it, but we will look into the
Okay,
existing situation at the baseball field.
appreciate it.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Okay, I see no reason to, Commissioner member. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have something else?
No, I was just going to add the LED lighting that we're proposing for the new field and the tennis courts. 3 things that make it, well, more than 3 things that make it a lot different than what's existing out there. The LED technology is instant on, instant off, where the metal halide or high intensity discharge that they have on the others has a warm up and a cool down period. These lights will have 3 levels of lighting. So competition 50-foot candle lighting can be dimmed down 2 different levels, which is primarily used during practice events. And then third, it's remote control operation. So someone with their iPhone sitting in another town or at their home can shut it off whenever they want, if they get a call or if they just have it on a timer. So a lot more control than the old fashioned systems.
Thank you. Mr. Tedesco.
Well, no, it doesn't really affect this project because for all the reasons expressed, but I mean, as representatives of the school here, and they've heard what one of the landowners that's near have said. I mean, the school should turn the lights off when the field's not being used, unless there's a security reason, which I haven't heard. They should be turned, and I'm not suggesting they're not, but it seems to me that should be monitored for the benefit of the neighbors. That's all.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs.
No,
Johnson.
I just had, are you changing the lights on the football field?
We are not.
You are not? Okay.
No.
I didn't know if that was part of it. No.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, public is all set and the commission member is all set. All right, I'll close this public hearing. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Public hearing moved by Mr. Kaderis, seconded by Mr. Strollo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Marilyn, I'll give you a couple minutes to switch the thing over. 1 minute. Okay, let me know when. Ready to go? All right. I'd like to call to order the planning and zoning meeting for Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of our public hearing and regular meeting from January 24th, 22? Moved by Mr. Natale, second by Mr. Kaderis. Any corrections, comments, anything to make in the minutes? No. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Under communications, and you guys got in the packet, the CFPZA quarterly newsletter and the invitation to go to the dinner. Everyone got it. I found out tonight we can still respond to go if anyone wants to go. It's the town picks it up. It's at the AquaTurf. It's a nice event and looks like a pretty good speaker this year. Under unfinished business, do we have a motion for the zone map change petition? Mark Florenza. Mrs. Downs, did she run away somewhere? She went to the bathroom? All right, let's give her a sec to come back because we're going to need all of the commission members up here to vote, so. Okay. Can we were waiting for you to do the motion for 802. Can we hear the motion, please?
Motion to approve application 802 South Main Street, Mark Forlenza and Associates LLC, application for a zone change from R40 to R20A. The commission finds the proposed zone change is consistent with the goals and objectives of the 2016 Plan of Conservation Development and hereby approves the application for a zone change per plans entitled Map Depicting Proposed Zone Change prepared by SLR, revision date October 13th, 2021. The effective date for the zone change is March 9th, 2022.
Mr. Good, so that you, February 16th is out. March 9th, thank you.
Okay. Move Mr. Natale, seconded by Mr. Kaderis. Any discussion on this motion? I see hands up from Mr. Natale.
Yeah. I have concerns about this application. I have concerns about the traffic down there. I have concerns about, changing the zoning just to get a couple more units in there to cause more traffic coming out of that spot. I've gone down there. I've watched it, that area, and it is congested. It is right next to the traffic light. I know they'd have to work with the state on that, but I'm not thrilled about that, and I don't see the benefit of changing the zone, and I'm going to be voting against that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Soma.
I second that entirely, what Mr. Natale said.
Okay. Mr. Tedesco.
Yeah, from the testimony, I mean, the amount of traffic difference is minuscule, really, and I don't think there's going to be any change in the traffic situation as a result of this. So I'm going to vote in favor of it.
Okay. Mr. Dawson.
I'm totally against it. I'm going to be voting against it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, with me on this one, with the zone change, it allows the developer to put in the 14 units, the housing, what do we call it? I forgot what we're called, the infill development. And although I voted for, and I know where they're going with this, so to go to the R20A, and then I have voted for all the other 3 infill developments that we have on Route 10. But in this application with the residential right next door, I don't think this is a very good area for that to happen. So turning it to R20A is just not something that I can support. So with that, I will also be voting against this application. So to call for a vote, all those in favor of the application signify by raising your right hand. Mr. Tedesco, 2, and Kaderis and Tedesco in favor. Anyone opposed? The remaining members, so the motion fails 7-7. Moving on, number 2, 4, 2, 4, 5. Number 6, do we have a motion for the pool? Is everyone comfortable with the indoor pool application? Do we have a motion for that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Approve application for 10 George Avenue. Craig Goldstein applicant. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission approved the application for a special permit for the construction of addition for an indoor pool to be used for therapeutic purposes as shown on plans entitled Proposed Pool Addition Cheshire Fitness Pool, prepared by SLR, revision date February 15th, 2022, is consistent with the requirements set forth in Cheshire zoning regulations. The special permit is subject to the following conditions. One, the fire department approved emergency knock box, a key box shall be installed and maintained. And two, the parking lot to be restriped in accordance with the approved parking plan.
Move staff wording.
Move Mr. Dawson, second by Mr. Kaderis. Any discussion on this motion? Seems like a good addition to an existing Cheshire business. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Everyone okay with the housing authority? Is here a motion? Yeah. Can we get a motion for the housing authority, please?
Approved for application for 50 Rumberg Road, Cheshire Housing Authority applicant. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission approved the application for a special permit replacing bituminous sidewalks, milling overlay of parking and driveway, new dumpster enclosure, mailbox kiosk, widening of fire land, addition of 21 parking spaces as shown in plans titled Small City Renovations and Upgrades to Beachport Housing Complex, 50 Rumberg Road, Cheshire, Connecticut, prepared by Q&M Architecture. Revision date February 2nd, 2022 is consistent with the requirements set forth in the Cheshire zoning regulations. Special permit approval is subject to the following conditions. One, mountable curbing will be installed on all drive access areas where curbing is replaced. And two, the applicant will call for a field test with the fire department apparatus prior to paving to field test the corners in the project area.
Move staff wording.
Move Mr. Dawson, seconded by Mr. Stroll. Any discussion on this motion? Another one seeing good improvement. They need the parking spaces down there, so all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Number 8, how does everyone feel about the Cheshire Academy vote? Yeah, can we hear the motion for that also, please?
Approve application for 10 Main Street / Academy Road, Cheshire Academy applicant, the Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission. Approve the application for a special permit replacement of existing running track / demolition of 4 tennis courts, construction of 3 tennis courts with lighting, fencing, and field lighting as shown on plan entitled Cheshire Academy Athletic Facility Improvements, prepared by SLR, revision date January 12th, 2022, consistent with the requirements set forth in Cheshire zoning regulations.
Move staff wording.
Move Mr. Dawson, second by Mr. Kaderis. Any discussion on this motion? Mr. Strollo.
I'd just like to address Mr. Wilson's concerns and see if the zoning enforcement could actually go out and take a look.
Sure, but that's existing concerns that
Yes.
don't have to do with
Yes.
this application. So, but we established that they're going to go out and take another look
I
at
just want
it.
to make sure.
See.
That's it.
Anyone else? Ms. Downs?
Just, I would agree with Sean. I live near Cheshire High School, so I feel your pain. But what I have done is just call my town council person when I've had trouble being a neighbor to Cheshire High School. But I don't know if you can do that because it's a different situation. But I feel your pain sometimes living near a high school.
Any other commission members? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. And I think too, with having the leader of the school here, maybe she could address some of the concerns that you heard tonight that didn't have anything to do with this application, but going forward, if you could, it'd be nice to interact with the neighbors and hopefully keep good neighbors. So perfect. Perfect. Thank you. All right, tabled application, site plan application of Gagson LLC.
Mhm.
That's it's the retail. We had that. And Bartlett headquarters, those are the two together, right?
Yeah, and they're before the Wetlands Commission right now.
So yeah,
So
we'll hear them
we have to
on
wait until they're
March
out of
14th.
wetlands. Yep.
All right, road acceptance for Cornwall Avenue. Do we have a motion for that?
Motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that the town council accept the extension of Cornwall Avenue in its entirety as a town road as shown on map entitled Record Subdivision Map, Re-subdivision of Lot 12, Clearview Farms, Preserve Phase 2, Single Family Residential Subdivision, 947 Cornwall Avenue, Cheshire, Connecticut, which is recorded on the Cheshire Land Record shown on map 4709. Acceptance by the town council should be conditioned upon the recording of a warranty deed for the town right-of-way and related legal documents as approved to the form and content by the town attorney. At the time of acceptance, a maintenance bond in the amount of $4,468 be posted per section 1014 of the subdivision regulations.
Moved by Mr. Strollo, seconded by Mr. Dawson. Any discussion on this motion?
Is Cornwall Avenue now extended, or is that still Cornwall Avenue extension?
It's Cornwall Avenue Extension. It's the cold, so you have, it's, last meeting, we accepted we recommended acceptance of, it's a Beechwood, which was phase 1. This was phase 2, which was an extension and just a cul-de-sac, and was it, I think it's 5 houses out there?
Yeah, no, the reason I was asking is because this is Cornwall Avenue, not Cornwall Avenue extension.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, extension of Cornwall Avenue. It's extension of Cornwall Avenue. I apologize.
It's no longer going to be called Cornwall Avenue extension, it's going to be called Cornwall Avenue.
Sorry.
Cornwall extension.
It's confusing.
Mr. Strollo.
Do you have anything else or no? No new business or anything?
I got to vote on this. I thought you were having discussion, sorry. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone
I'm
abstaining?
abstaining.
Okay, so the motion carries 8-0-1. Anything else to come before the commission tonight?
So you have a draft on the marijuana regulations. It's not for discussion tonight.
Yeah.
It's just the research along with a very rough, basically skeleton of a regulation for next week for us to discuss. And then I'll share, Commissioner Natale sent over example of another regulation from another state. I'll put it in, make sure that's emailed to the commission with the packet that'll go out. Basically, it's just the agenda for next week.
Do we have to prove the tunnel going to Prospect?
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
On Route 42, they're digging. I said, do we have to prove a tunnel going to Prospect? From the oil spill?
All right, nothing else to come before us tonight.
Nothing else.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the regular meeting. Mr. Selma, second by Mr. Dawson, and everybody's in favor.
Yep.
Thank you.